Welcome to the Real Estate Special. I am your host, Dan Kiley. Alongside me is Tom Stelzer. Tom, how's it going tonight?
It's going great. We just wrapped up a great episode with Adrian. I'm really excited about it.
What was your number one? Actually, we'll save that for the end. But I thought the conversation with Adrian, we covered a bunch of different topics. Talked about the one little tidbit I'll say is the skincare routine was very thorough.
It
So
was, and
to
you could see it. I mean, you could see it. His face kind of glowed throughout the episode, and
yeah.
I don't know. I'm hoping that once this, I'm not sure if when people watch this, they just listen, or actually, it's pretty cool on Spotify. You can actually see the video of us, which
Right.
I think is relatively cool. I mean, I think it's weird for everybody else to be watching us, but I think it's cool every time I watch it to watch it. But Adrian's face was kind of like half in and half out, and I didn't know what to tell him. So I don't know if you noticed the same thing or how that's
I
going to
did.
come up.
I did, but I shot him a text and then he moved over and then he moved back. It's no big deal.
I didn't have the heart to say it. I'm like, yo,
Yeah,
I'm looking at you, but I only see one eye, man.
yeah.
Like,
No, but I can make sure that people can actually see him when we do the video. Nonetheless, it was a great podcast. We covered real estate, where there's a certain point where he had a little amount of money to his name, and then he bought a house and bought some land. Everything's great. So I hope you guys enjoy the show, and we'll dive into the episode. Welcome to another episode of the Real Estate Special. I am your host, Dan Kiley. With me is Tom Stelzer, and we have a special guest on, one of my good friends down here in Houston, Texas, Adrian Gonzales. Adrian is a Paylocity rep, but he is also in a couple other business ventures and also loves real estate. So we had a conversation at the gym, 5 a.m. workouts while I was struggling with burpees, and we ended up figuring it makes sense to get you on the podcast. So welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, man. It only took some working out and a bunch of burpees to make this happen.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm pretty sore from that. 30 burpees, and it was a finisher, and try to do it as quick as we could. And I had to stop a couple times, played ice hockey the night before. Just wanted to make that clear because I know people were giving me crap on LinkedIn earlier. So
Your dad as well.
Yeah,
He had a hard time believing that you completed the 30 burpee task.
Yeah, that was the main person that was giving me shit.
Yeah,
So
Jeff usually makes sure to give Dan a hard time about almost everything. So
yeah, I love it. I piled on.
Yeah, it was not the most exciting thing to do at 6 a.m., but you got to get it done. So so really we'll kind of dive into it, Adrian, and we'll kind of throw the ball in your court, just to kind of explain your background a little bit, being in Houston and really what your journey was with real estate, because we talked about how you bought some land with your family and some other different things that you're kind of getting into. So I guess really just start off with like your background, who you are, and we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah, man. No, I appreciate you guys having me. So my name's Adrian. I'm actually born and raised in Houston, Texas. I grew up over in Spring. Went to Texas State over in San Marcos. Graduated in 2009 and kind of started my corporate sales career during that time. I've kind of been in three different industries now. So the IT industry, the business travel space, which was amazing until COVID happened. And then now and now the HR space. As well as during that time, I've also kind of gotten into social media branding, diving into Instagram, LinkedIn, etc. Yeah, I lived in Austin for a couple years, but I'm a Houstonian. One thing about me is I'm really close to the family, so I didn't want to stray
love
away
that.
too far, so moved back. Yeah.
Yeah, I recently moved to Florida from Pennsylvania, and we're closer to my in-laws, which has been nice. So we're closer to some family, but then the rest of my family is spread out in Pennsylvania and North Carolina, so it's a lot more difficult to see them. So I definitely respect trying to be as close to family as possible.
Oh yeah, we're a tight little knit group. We're not a large group, but we're a tight small one.
That's all that matters. So tell me, I know you had those three different career paths and career changes, and just want to touch base. So you
Oh,
graduated in 2019, or sorry, 2009, you said?
2009.
And from 2009, about how long, when did you end up purchasing your first house or the house that you live in today?
So man, it's 2019, so a decade, Tom, after I graduated, and hindsight's always 2020, right? When I lived in Austin, I was in a position to purchase a home out there, but being young and immature, decided to go with expensive vehicles and live a very lavish lifestyle. So kind of paid for
The
that a little.
American dream, right?
The Amer-
Yeah,
yeah,
you want
the American
expensive
dream, man.
car, the
Yeah,
college degree, yeah, student
pay
loan debt.
people's bar tabs,
Exactly, yeah.
nice car, clubs, the whole thing, and then uh, living the nice apartment life in Houston, and ultimately it just you start asking yourself like, what am I doing, giving all this money away, paying like you know 2 grand for an apartment? So it kind of finally hit me in I think probably around in 2018 that I needed to put some roots down in a home. So I purchased in 2019 with the help of my cousin, who's a real estate agent, Michael Gonzales. He helped me out.
Awesome. And
So
so when you purchased that, do you mind just talking a little bit about the financing from a perspective of like what you put down? Did you get like a FHA loan with like 3.5% or something along those lines?
Yeah. So I did a standard FHA loan. Originally, I didn't know too much about real estate. I thought I had to come in at 20%, which I'm sure what most inexperienced people think too, like, oh, 20% I got to put down. But no, I ended up having to only put down like 3.5. I think I bought the home for 247. I think is what I purchased it for, and I think I put down like you know 5 or 6, and then with closing costs, I think it was like 10 or so all in.
gotcha. And
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. I know a lot of people don't like to share, certain financial details, but that's the one thing we're trying to prove on this show is that it's so inexpensive, relatively speaking, to get into your first home. If you're using the FHA program with 3.5% down, it's almost a cheat code to get your first property in real estate. And then instead of paying that $2,000 in rent to I want to say to nobody, you're paying that landlord's, property tax and everything else, but this is something that's going to build almost generational wealth or at least help you start making more payments to something that's got an asset to it. It's got some value to it.
so, Adrian, I have a quick question for you. So, it's funny. I've been in my apartment for 2 years now, and it's kind of like the end of 23, or I'd say probably around September. I'm like, have finances. I'm gonna look to buy a house and everything like that, and then lost my job, and so I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm just gonna stay here for another year, not rush. What was a key factor in you saying like, it's time to look for a house? And then the other part is, how did you pick your location? Like, because you're in East Downtown, right?
Yeah, I'm in
Yes.
East Downtown now. Kind of two parts to that in terms of like the defining moment when it was like I got to get a house. I went broke probably in 2017, like flat out. I think I went broke in Houston, doing these crazy like trips, like expensive apartment, and then wasn't managing finances at all. And then it got to a point where like literally at the end of a lease, I think I had like $80 in my checking account or something,
Oof.
and
Wow.
had to,
Wow.
yeah, I mean, I was pushing 30 and had to, my parents were like, come live with us, and felt some shame at the time, but it was the best move I could have made. I think that was a big kind of turning point for me. It was like, man, what am I doing? I need to take this time, living with them, to save money, get my shit together, and really figure out like what I want, and that is a home. So after a year of living with them, I moved in with a buddy, kind of in the city, just to get an idea of kind of where I wanted to be at. And
Yeah.
then uh, in that time, my cousin was a real estate agent, and he was talking to me about it, letting me know about the FHA loans at 3.5. And I think probably like 6 months before, maybe January of 2019, I started looking like, okay, let's do this. Let's look around. Obviously, that process, dude, is just it can be really overwhelming, right? Because I mean, Houston, fourth largest city in the country, right? There's so many
Yeah.
places to look.
It's funny. Yeah, Houston's so large where you could be like, feels like you're like 40 miles outside of downtown Houston and you're still in Houston. And
Mhm.
and they have all
Houston's an
these
hour from Houston, right?
pretty
Yeah,
much. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But no, Adrian, I just want to compliment you on your story. I mean, that's so beautiful. You basically went from, $80 left in your checking account, right, in 2017 to then fast forward 2 years, you were able to change kind of your mindset, shift a ton of your gears, and realize you want to purchase a home and then make it happen. And that's a huge turnaround to be able to save up the money and get into a house and change. And I feel like that's such a good value add for somebody that's 22 or 24. Oh, I could never. Let me wait till I'm 35 to purchase my first house. And it's like, well, no, I mean, Adrian went from $80 to a house in 2 years. So if that's where you're at today, that's something that's possible for almost anybody. And I think that's a great story.
Yeah, no, man, I definitely attribute it to family, again, being close with them, like having that support team there behind you to help you with that journey is so big. I mean, if I didn't have them, I mean, I don't. It may be a different story.
No, for sure. And I think that there's no shame ever in going to move back with your parents in certain situations when you're doing it for financial reasons. If you're going to go and save more money by living at home versus paying $2,000 to a Grant Cardone or $2,500
That's what I'm
to
doing right
somebody
now.
like that, I'm just saying that I think that you're better off in many situations by moving back home and saving up 100% of that money and getting to the point where you have a down payment and
Mhm.
purchasing a house. So now you're paying roughly $2,000 a month or whatever your mortgage is, or maybe your
Yep.
mortgage is probably closer to $1,500, but it's going, that $1,500 is something you're paying down, a little bit of interest, but a little bit of principal as well, and
Oh
building
yeah,
your overall net
I'll,
worth.
I'll go ahead and tell you. I mean, it started I think around 1650. Then it jumped up to like 1990, and then I refinanced.
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah,
Did you refinance during when like the rates were like, 3%?
I refinanced in 2021, so I missed the. What was it? Was it as low as 2.5 or no? Was it 2.9?
No,
No, was it
I
1?
think
It was like
I think 2.5 is relatively low, but there was
I,
definitely a lot of threes. There was a lot of three
there's
percents.
Yeah.
in some areas there was 2.9 I saw.
Shout out to Zach Konensberg. He got me a
Yeah.
3. I got a 3%
Yeah.
Oh
interest rate, so
wow.
I'm
Yeah.
keeping
Okay.
that bad boy around. Yeah, he's not
Yeah.
going anywhere.
See, I had a 4.5 and I refied for 3.5. So that's solid. I mean,
Yeah,
dude, it's definitely solid. Look at where we're at now. Like we take for granted like some of the things that we had in the past. Like, and then you look at the timeline. I think like what isn't like 8 or 9 technically like average if you look at the past years, or like what's y'all's
I
thought
think
process?
it did go up to 8, but I think we're back down to the sevens right now, maybe seven and a
I s-
half, high
I
Mhm.
sevens.
I
Mhm.
saw well, and I listened to a Bigger Pockets podcast. They said like the national rate recently was like a 6.95,
Mm.
which so it's right around the 7 mark. I mean, I don't think we'll see unless we have another pandemic. I don't
Okay.
see us going back down to 2.5 or 3% or
Yeah.
3.5.
I think even with inflation, banks aren't going to really want to
Yeah.
lower it back down to 3. They're going to keep it at least, like, if it goes low again, it's going to be like that 4.5, maybe 5. But I don't see it going much lower than that. I don't know too much about anything, but that's just my hypothetical guess.
Uh,
There was something else I wanted to point on about Adrian's story. Where was I going to go with that? Man, I just lost my train of thought. I had something really good, and I kind of lost it, and we kept going there. So
no
So
worries.
so you're a 2-bedroom, 2-bath right now. Um,
Yes.
and do you have any plans of potentially buying another house in the future, or are you there for at least the next
So
couple
I'm
years?
definitely here for the next year. I love the home. It's
Yeah.
great. It's in a good area, Easton, aka Edo, whatever you want to call it. Up and coming area. I was very fortunate to find a home here. It's cool because it's one of two freestanding homes that's in the community. Every other home shares walls with each other.
Oh
Right?
Okay.
wow.
Mine's the only one that's separated. Yeah, so that's great. And then probably it's gonna be another year or two till I go in and buy another home because I went in with family uh at the beginning of 2023 to purchase land. So
Wow.
Gotcha.
we purchased 53 acres out in Columbus, Texas.
Wow. That's a significant amount of land. So what are the plans for that?
Yeah, it's open for suggestions. No, I mean, we you see things, right? We're just taking ideas. Like there's the barndominiums that are great. Like our whole thing is again family, right?
Hmm.
Close with family and just building a legacy, for Gonzales, our family and my sister's daughter, and I'm sure more kids she has, her future husband, my future wife, my parents living there, and even connecting our cousins, my mom's, siblings, my dad's siblings, just a safe haven for people to go. And even in my mind, in terms of like entrepreneurship thinking, I'm just like, what a great place to also potentially mastermind out there.
Mm.
Yeah.
Kind of bring
Absolutely.
like-minded individuals there. But right now, it's just it's open. We've invested in kind of building out the kind of the driveway that has to be built because the entrance to it is at a dip. So we got to build the culvert had to be built out
Mm.
and then cleared it out because, 53 acres of just brush is quite a bit. But
So
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
We,
that's not a small patch of land.
no, and it's a little
So
different too because it's under HOA.
okay.
Oh wow. 53 acres under an HOA. That's a lot.
I know. It's one of those communities where the smallest lot is 2 acres and it grows from there. But we have the largest lot in the community.
How
Wow.
how many other, I guess, owners are in the community altogether?
Oh man, that's a good question. I mean, probably around 50 or so right
Wow.
now. There's a Facebook group with everybody who owns property there, so
Nice.
uh they have it in two phases. They have so many lots in phase 1 which they already sold out of, and then they're pretty much all sold out of phase 2. I'm not sure the total number of lots on there, but we've been looking for property for a bit. But
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about property, but like it's expensive per acre normally.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so whose idea was it to be like, "Hey, Gonzalez family, let's
Right.
all go in and
Dude.
buy a massive plot of land." And honestly, I've been down in Houston for 2 years. I don't know where Columbus, Texas is. So if you want to kind of let us know where that actually is.
Yeah, it's west, buddy. It's
Okay.
I-10 west.
Okay. Yeah.
No, probably from downtown Houston, an hour, maybe
Okay.
a little more than an hour. I-10 west, a little past Katy. My dad had been looking for a bit. It's always been a dream of his to own property and have like a family ranch.
Yeah.
And
Awesome.
he had been looking for a bit, but everything he found was just like 25K to like 50K per acre, right? So even
Yeah.
like having like 5 acres is just like so much, but we were able to get this entire 53 acres where it broke down to around 10,000 per acre.
Wow.
Wow. That's a really good price.
Mm,
I want to touch on your legacy play there. Like, there's something about like a legacy, in my humble opinion, of just owning a bunch of property and having that be your legacy. Whether it's rental properties, whether it's land that you convert into something, like I just think that a legacy of land is so much, or property is so much more unique than your great grandfather passed you down $100,000 or something. It's
Right.
cool, right? Like, yeah, who
no.
wouldn't want you go drop $100,000 to me? I'll go buy something with it, right?
Mhm.
But having like a sort of an asset or just land or having that much property passed down from family generation to family generation, it just seems like it's so much more tangible. Like, I don't know, I'm not getting much of anything from my grandparents, no disrespect to them, but if I was, I would definitely prefer to get, some property, some land over, some cash.
100%.
Absolutely. Memories are priceless, right? And creating memories on something that you own for years to come, multi generations. I mean, that's priceless. So I think that's kind of the vision we saw with this, right? Like,
For
what else?
sure.
What can we build on there that creates purpose and connects us all together?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's
my
awesome.
wife's family, they sold their grandparents' house, but he owned, let's say, 30 acres or so, and it's kind of in the middle of the woods in northeastern Pennsylvania. And one day I'd love to, be able to put a cabin up there or something. Like, it's just the land now, but we've gone out there sometimes when there and we hike around, and like it's really nice. Like, hey, this is our land. Like, there's 30 acres that we own in kind of the middle of nowhere. I don't know much of anything, but it's in the family, and it's just really cool. Different family members will go there and they'll hang out there, and so I don't know if I'll ever have enough money to put a cabin there, anything like that. But that would be a surreal thing,
Yeah.
just to have a cabin in the woods and know that that's where, when my wife was a little kid, they used to go hiking there with her grandfather, and probably the generation before that used to live there as well. So it's really cool.
Oh, and I mean, you hit the nail on the coffin there. It's you don't even have to build anything on it. Just going out there and just being away from
Just being
everything
out
and
there.
something that's yours, and just, I mean, we went out there a couple weeks ago and just sat there, and just
Yeah,
walked around, like
just have
the
a
air, the
fire.
sun, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like just
Just being
the
outdoors.
just
It's
being
it's
outdoors. It's healing, yeah, in a weird
Yeah.
way.
I completely agree with that. When I took a trip to Big Bend National Park, getting away from like downtown Houston, it was so peaceful and just so calming. And it's like you make a left hand turn, you're headed down towards Mexico, and you lose service, and it's like you just have your map, and that's it. That's the only thing that you're able to be connected to. So it's it's just you and like your own thoughts, and it's just calming and peaceful. Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
you don't need to spend thousands of dollars to go overseas when you know, we have thousands of miles here to explore and get that feeling that you got just, 8 hours away over in Big Bend, which I haven't even been to yet, by the way.
Dude.
Sad.
Yeah, so yeah, that's a funny story. It was like top 25 hikes in Texas because my girlfriend wanted to go hiking with me. I'm like, yeah,
Hmm.
let's do it. Big Ben was like 14 out of the 25. I'm like, we're booking a trip to Big Ben. This is like third week that we're dating, so it was a
Let's
nice
go.
You went for it. You
went
went
for
for
it.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So
I love healthy habits though, between a relationship and a partner, and pushing each other to walk and do healthier exercises versus sit there and watch TV. And a
Oh.
lot of, especially in a new relationship though, Dan, that's really
yeah,
impressive. I mean, 3 weeks in, I can tell you what Sarah and I were doing, and it was a lot of watching Netflix and eating pizza and gaining a lot of weight.
I mean,
So going on hikes is very impressive.
it's and not to say that we don't have our lazy Sundays where we're laying on my couch. We watch a Netflix documentary. We watch a movie. I'm watching
Not
House
the
of Cards
birds.
right
You're
now.
shutting that shit
Definitely not.
off.
No, I'm not watching the birds. Go birds, by the way. But yeah, no, like we still have our lazy Sundays, but it's all about finding the right balance. I think
Huge on
balance is
balance,
key.
man.
So 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 you have your own house. Talking about the family legacy. Let's kind of transition
Yeah, real quick, I
into.
want to poke fun
Oh,
at Dan. I remembered what I wanted to
here we
say
go.
earlier.
Oh, here we
So
go. Yeah.
apologize to backtrack. But no, I just again want to appreciate Adrian's story. I think it's really great. And I also want to commend you for you'd saved up for 2 years. You took that risk. I believe at that time you were in the hospitality industry, you mentioned. So you're in the hospitality industry, you buy your house in 2019, and then shit hits the fan. It's freaking COVID. And it sounds like, I don't know if you lost your job or you just weren't making any money at your job. And so now you're peak COVID and you're just bought a home. You got to figure out how to make it work, and you got to get a new job. So can you talk us through that a little bit? Because I think that's a pretty
That's a
remarkable
key
story
point.
about taking the risk when you have that opportunity to take it.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy times. I mean, Luckily, one, I had bought the house a year before. I mean, I'd already been living into it a solid year before COVID hit. But of course, mortgage payments and whatnot. Yes, I was furloughed from my business travel job. It was an
Mm-hmm.
amazing industry to be in at the time. A lot of great benefits, but when COVID happened, I think 90% of the revenue across the travel space was just lost. So there was no
Mm.
like, it wasn't any decision by, by management for poor performance. It was just like, hey, like
No
everybody's
one's
getting furloughed.
traveling.
Yeah.
Nobody,
Yeah.
So I had to figure out, okay, how am I going to support myself here? Like, what I got this house I have to pay for. I got other expenses. I'm getting minimal from unemployment. Well, so at that point, I went to social media and started learning new skills. YouTube University. I'm sure y'all heard of Airbnb, but also Turo was one that
Yeah.
kind
yeah.
of popped up. So I started following influencers on YouTube on what Turo was about, how they went about it, and then I started Turoing my car I had and started working out, and then I bought another car or two, and then kind of had a small little fleet and started doing that all the time, and then started taking to social media and talking about the journey. I started running into like influencers who would talk about like document your journey, like document your brand, who you are, like that,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I never understood that, and I see people just talk about it like
Yeah.
their faults, their successes, their wins, their losses. So I started doing the same thing with that. And then from there, it kind of became a consulting gig. People were asking me for help on how to set up Turo, and then I would kind of like set a price point and kind of go from there. Another big thing that started popping up around that time was Instagram growth campaigns, where these companies would partner with celebrities to grow your followers by 10x in like a
Mm.
certain period of time, and nobody had heard about that. So I kind of got on the bandwagon when that was big, and that you could easily make good markups from that, and then other things online. So I was able to support myself through COVID, and it was going great. Ultimately, I kind of wanted to have the safety net of a corporate job as well. But I
Right.
think like in today's world, we're in an interesting space where remote work is the norm or hybrid roles are the norm. And it's no longer weird to necessarily like have like a side hustle or another way to bring income in as well. I think because
Yeah.
everything just happened with COVID and so many people were invested and had so much trust in the companies they worked for, like taking care of them. And then look what happened with COVID. That all like disappeared
That
in an
all,
instant.
yeah.
So I think now
Yeah.
people always look out for themselves, them first, number one. Um, so I think it's more accepted now to kind of have a side hustle per se.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
then look at all that stuff that you started. Do you think that if the roles were reversed and you didn't purchase your home, let's say you were still renting, you lost your job, at that point you might have moved back in with your parents and you might not have thought to be as aggressive. Like I'm trying to say, do you think that some of these ideas like going to Turo and looking at Instagram and ways to raise additional money was you forcing yourself because you had this asset that you were like, I have to pay for this? What creative way can I come up with to make those payments?
Oh yeah, I mean you kind of go not survival mode, but like proactive mode. Like it's like, hey, this is the ultimate adult responsibility that you have right here, and you cannot
Mm-hmm.
let it go or lose it. So
Right.
I had to do learn new skills basically to make that happen. And yeah, I mean if I wouldn't have had that proactiveness, I don't know. I hate to think what would have happened, but
And that's why I'm poking fun at Dan here because he's been doing a lot of the right things to get to the point where he's ready to buy a home. And then unfortunately, one thing led to another and his division kind of shut down in the area he's living in. And then he doesn't have a job. And then so to go from having some sort of, he's got the base salary, he's got the commission. So he looks a little bit better on paper. He was there for 2 years. And now, he's luckily, let's go, Dan confirmed his 2024
woo,
goal. He got his new job. It's actually
Yeah.
got a higher base salary, so he
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
tell me to
awesome,
F
man.
off whenever he
Yeah.
wants.
Yeah. No,
But
it's all good.
but
But
my
it helped.
point is now, yeah. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it helped I don't want to say it helps, but that kind of like molds you a little bit, Dan. Like going
One
through
1000%
those hardships and those challenges, like you can't hit success points
without
without
failure.
going through some pivots and roadblocks, right? It's never going to be a straight
It's
line in life, right?
yeah,
And that's why I'm saying, like, things aren't always going to align. You take three steps forward, one step back. And so when you're in that third step forward, sometimes I think it's better to take that additional risk and kind of like you did, Adrian. And there's a step back with COVID and you lost your job. But hey, while things were going well, you took that risk and you bought that house. Where if you don't take that risk sometimes and then, something bad happens, it's going to be that much tougher, to get back up the mountain.
Absolutely.
yeah. So we talked about a bunch of different things. Your story's incredible, and I've known you for how long now? Probably a year or so, and I honestly haven't really dove into your full story just because we were
Right.
professional, referral partners, and then we work out together, all that good stuff. So story's incredible. I want to transition to something that we talked about on our last episode was, it's new year, new us, everybody says that, where goal setting and building strong positive habits leads to success. So do you have a morning routine for success, or is that always constantly changing? Kind of walk us through that.
Yeah, no, so I'm pushing 39 next year. So
I think you look
I
younger, significantly younger than I do. So congrats to you.
I like to say it's natural, man, but it's part of the morning routine.
There we go.
No, I mean, I think you have this realization after a while, like your body can't afford to go out as much as you used to. Your priorities change, right?
Right.
Again, like I have this home and I'm gathering other assets, but I'm always striving to be, better than I am, right? You're only what's the saying? You're the average of the five people that you
Five
surround
people.
yourself with, right? So when you
Yeah.
surround yourself with more successful people that are like levels above you, you start having the perspective like, oh shoot, I'm like, I'm a tadpole here, I need to step it up. And like, how do you do that? Well, you got to set structure. And I'm a morning person, like big time morning person. Like I thrive on the mornings, and I set a solid routine of one, like taking care of myself with going to the gym, right? Like I am not myself if I don't go. I'm always going to be about that. Like you're never going to do yourself a disservice by working out,
One
or,
Yeah.
thousand percent.
getting a run in, like that's,
What
your
are you doing
health.
on Sunday?
I'm running a half marathon.
Let's
Let's
Yeah.
go,
go. Let's
baby.
go,
Yeah,
dude.
and then
Yeah.
I read
it's
I read something this morning, and this guy was like, getting critiqued as to how he always has the energy to go to the gym. And he's like, 90% of the effing time, I don't want to go to the damn gym. I never want to go to the gym. And this is just out of his opinion. He's like, I want to go 10% of the time. But you know what? When I go 100% of the time to the gym, I always feel great after the gym. Even though I
I
don't want to go, it's the feeling that I know I'm going to get after the gym.
after
I
it's
never
the
regret going to the gym after the fact. Before
it
you're
Yeah.
like, oh, I don't want to do this. I want to hit that snooze button so bad. And every time you always feel better after. You always
yeah.
feel ready to tackle the day after. So,
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's
I think
it's
it's much easier for people like ourselves that have been working out a little bit more. But I've gone through ruts, and I'm sure you two have as well. Like, if you don't go to the gym for 2 weeks, you get out of that routine,
oh
that snooze button is significantly easier just to press, But the more that you just take that first initial step, whether it's getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and then you just go, okay, well, now I'm going to walk into the gym for the first couple of times. They talk about that in Atomic Habits, where it's like, if you want to start going to the gym, don't tell yourself you got to do some 3 hour workout the first day.
Mhm.
Just show up. Just literally
just
Yeah.
go
do
to the gym and
just do
show
10
up.
minutes. All
Yeah.
you need,
Yeah.
your body only needs 10 minutes at a minimum. Like the majority of people's health problems would be resolved with 10 to 15 minutes of active movement a day.
That's what I'm trying to get across to people now, just like on social media and whatnot, is to like get that fear out of people's head that, it doesn't matter what age, right? You could be in your 20s, 30s, 40s, but like that fear, like, oh man, I got to spend a full hour in the gym. I have no idea what to do. I'm not used to this. Oh, I'm overwhelmed. Oh, I don't have time for this. I'll
Right.
do it next time. Versus like, you know, dude, 10 burpees, 15 burpees, some walks, some stretches, some air squats, some
30.
push-ups. Like, you'd be surprised just what consistent small activity will do for you.
Yeah,
I
and
mean, Dan and I have realized this with push-ups, and it sounds like such a minimal thing, but read something. I think it's like it cuts your chances of having a heart attack down 95%. Am I right, Dan?
yeah, it was
95% if you can do 50 push-ups
right.
without stopping. So him and
So-
I were like, we're just going to do 100 push-ups a day. And I swear, my arms are bigger, my chest is bigger than like it ever has been. You know, I played football in college and used to lift all the time. Like, I bet my bench, I mean, it might not be as high as it was in college. It might be a couple pounds lower, but hey, I mean,
But
Hey, we're just trying to fit nice in our clothes these days, Tom.
yeah,
Well, so-
exactly. That's all that matters.
And-
No one's gonna hire me because I can bench 315. But if I fit in my
Right.
clothes, I got a better shot at getting a job.
but the one thing that you said, Tom, which I wanted to hit on is, you know, if you don't go to the gym for a week or two, then you're kind of off track of like getting into that routine. And I'll tell you, right after college, after I graduated college, I was still doing the college diet of pizza, beer, and then maybe work out here and there. I was 250 pounds. It was not good. So from there to where I'm at now, it's night and day. So, and to Adrian's point, the gym, you know, you feel amazing afterwards. It's that, like, there are times where I don't want to go to the gym. Like, I played a hockey game the night before, and Adrian's like, yo, 5 a.m.? Sure, let's do it. And then afterwards, it's like, dude, I just fucking crushed that workout. Excuse my French, but that's the feeling that you get.
And you need
from
that positive influence.
And from a mental perspective, it's huge on mental health.
Huge.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm big on that. You know, starting my day off. I'm either starting my day off with the workout, and then following up with, like, you know, prayer, meditation, spirituality, or I'm doing that, starting the day off with that, and then going to the gym. Like, I feel like the combo for that, at least for me, kind of keeps my head clear and my headspace really, really positive, and just, you know, feeling good, and, you know, look good, feel good, ready to, you know, do good. So
Yeah.
Look
Absolutely.
good, feel good, play good. Shout out
but
Dion.
exactly.
Have you read the book Miracle Morning?
No, I haven't.
Really? I mean, you're
It's a great
literally
book.
speaking the words
You're
out of the
speaking-
book without reading the book. I read that book probably right before my wedding. I was some of the best shape I've been in. And me and Sarah would get up before, you know, wake up at 5 a.m., work out. But it was after we read the Miracle Morning book. I think, do you like to read?
Yeah. I mean, so
Yeah.
it's a lot. So it's the more you read the motivational books, right? They kind of it's a lot of similar things that you hear, right? Just
A lot
different
of
techniques
similarities.
and whatnot.
Yep.
A lot of
Mhm.
similarities. So, like, some of the books that I've read, kind of coincide with that book. Like, I want to read that book now, but, like, you said, Atomic Habits. Like, that was that was a solid book I've read. Right. I try to keep my book readings to either kind of habits, motivational, uh, you know, enlightenment, and just, like, kind of like bettering myself, and, like, you know, business books. Yeah.
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 The Miracle Morning, he essentially talks about like the 5 savers, and it's about getting up at 5 a.m. and then doing like the meditation, the working out, and there's 3 other savers: journaling, reading, and
Visualization
routine?
visualization. Yeah.
yeah.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
those are the 5 that he does, but it's a really good book just to maybe clean up. I mean, it sounds like you got a great morning routine anyway, but it speaks to the volumes of how great a morning routine can be, and also how many people just are not waking up. And there's a lot of like really good tips and points in there that like show how much, like, if you get up at 5 a.m., you're getting up earlier than like probably 75% of the population, which is
So
insane to
Oh,
think about.
wow.
right.
See, I didn't
And-
even know that stat. I'm gonna have to get that book for.
yeah.
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 I got it
So
somewhere back there.
So yeah, the savers, it's, you know, silence meditation for 5 minutes, positive affirmations for 5 minutes. What do you want to accomplish that day?
Right.
And then you visualize that for 5 minutes. Then it's 10 to 30 minutes of exercise. Read for 10 minutes, and then journal or write down your goals 10 minutes.
See,
So
I have kind of something like that where, you know, obviously
Yeah.
my workout, right, and then I have 5 minutes of prayer, 5 minutes of gospel worship music that kind of hits for me, and then 5 minutes of gratitude and reflection and kind of things that I'm thankful and grateful for.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, that's great, and it just speaks to the power that a routine like that can do. I mean, look at you. You're 39. You look like you're 29.
What's the
This guy.
skincare routine?
Oh yeah, let's
Skincare
get into
routine.
that.
uh, I have to attribute that to my ex from a couple years ago. I had a decent skincare routine, but I think seeing her like really take care of herself, I didn't realize there was all this stuff I was supposed to do for my face. So you know, one, it still blows me away that dudes will use like hand soap to like wash their face.
Bro, I've used water on my face and only water for probably the last like 10 years. I just
Oh
literally,
man, hey,
no
your skin looks
soap,
good though. I don't know. Yeah.
no soap,
No,
no
I got the
nothing.
bags under the eyes. It's not good. So
No, I'll use a specific men's face wash. Usually I'll do an exfoliator, which kind of brings up the dead skin. You're supposed to do that twice a week. I'll then use a vitamin C serum, which brightens up your skin and kind of gets rid of the patches. And then a really good like men's moisturizer.
gotcha.
And then follow that up with SPF face lotion for when you're
Mm.
going outside. And kind of the same thing with the night routine, except it's like a night cream. And then there's one other thing that I use, which gets rid of like the crow's eye and kind of the wrinkles.
Mm.
Retinol is what they call it.
Hmm.
But yeah, man, it's like a
Just about to write all
5-step
this down.
process. But
Yeah.
I promise you guys, I mean, if y'all got into like just even 3 of that, like you know, it's
It's
done for your face. I mean,
yeah.
it's
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
against
it'll be
living
fun for
organs.
my wife. I can go tell her the terms. She probably knows them all. They're probably on her side of the bathroom and say, "Hey,
um
Sarah, could do a nighttime routine for my face or a morning routine."
yeah.
She'll love it. Yeah, she'll have a bunch of fun.
All the churros, dude. If you look at any one for guys, it's a little expensive, but
Yeah,
the best moisturizer and night cream like I've ever used is this guy developed it, and I think he's like he's probably late 40s, but this dude's skin is just like glowing consistently.
wow.
Mm.
So
Yeah, no, I
And
figured
go
I'd
ahead, Dan.
oh no, I figured I'd have to bring it up, and I think the main thing with that, because my girlfriend bought me some face cream to put under like my eyes just
let's
to get
go,
rid of,
baby. Some eye
and
cream. She got
but
you some eye
but the
cream.
problem is I have to be consistent and not forget to do it, which I hand up accountability. I
Little
I
little
I
pinkies,
need to,
dude. Use your pinky
yeah,
and just kind of get in there.
just yeah, all right. So yeah. Anyway, but moving, yeah. So Tom, go ahead if you had
It was
another
just a
thought.
real quick thing about Hal Elrod, the guy that wrote the Miracle Morning book. I mean, he got in a car accident. His brain was borderline fried, and he was, his memory shot. Like he's not supposed to remember nearly as well. And so he created this morning routine to try and use positive energy, positive mindset to control his brain, recontrol his thoughts, build his memory back up. And so from going to this guy that was in an accident, had all these problems, he basically trained himself through this morning routine and positive affirmations and visualization to be one of the best humans alive and create this book and create this company and
Yeah.
just create something out of himself, create this family, like, and everything that he's done. And he recently had a battle of cancer too, and he was able to fight all that utilizing the morning routine and just the power of visualization and thinking things. So it was a really
Yeah.
cool book. Like, I think you'll really like it, Adrian. And
You'll
I think it's a good
definitely
book for a
enjoy it.
lot of people to read from a mindset perspective, just attacking your day.
And the other question I have for you, Adrian, is are there any other books that come top of mind that listeners should be reading, or something that'll be like, whether it's a business book or professional development, anything top of
Yeah,
mind?
there's 2 that come to my mind. This is still probably one of the best books I've read in terms of like it's not even a nonfiction; it's a fiction book, but it applies to kind of just anybody's life. It's called the Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's basically about a high successful lawyer who's just you know ingrained in his work, but he ends up having like a massive heart attack in the middle of like a trial, and it just comes to this like realization that like just just kind of not worth it, the path that he's taking. And he ends up, I think he what does he travel to the Himalayas, and he like
Mm.
ends up training with the monks and kind of learning just like self-reflection, calmness, peacefulness, etc. Basically it was around, not losing yourself to your job, pretty
Mm.
much, right? Like just
Which
not
I
losing,
think
which a
that's a
lot,
big thing.
a lot of
Yeah.
American society kind of falls trap into, right? The stresses of the job and not having, we all talk about balance, right? So having that balance in your life.
That's like the biggest. I think that's, if you were to take a poll, majority of Americans and people in general, I think that's the biggest thing that people want, is to find that work-life balance where they're not going home from work and they're thinking about their job, they're stressed out about their job. It's like you need to be able to separate the two, and that's something that I've realized is like I've fallen into that trap of being so focused and being so loyal to so and so company, and it's like they just view me as another number.
Mm,
So
yeah.
anyway,
Business book, $100 million leads. Yeah, that one is huge. That one is oh man, I just went blank on the guy's name.
No, I'm not as great with authors. I listen to a bunch of these podcasts, man. Everybody's just rattling off the author with the book, and I'm like, how do you
Oh
people do it? Like, I remember the
yeah,
book name, and that's about it. But so I
no,
won't
yeah,
hold you
yeah,
to
God,
it.
it's gonna bug me. Is it Alex? Is it
That's
Alex? Oh no,
yeah,
it's not Alex. But
We need
no,
like a
man. I mean,
podcast host, Dan, that can look
y-
this stuff up for us.
yeah,
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 he's a big workout guy. He's super jacked. But anyway, this guy gives out so much for free, man, on just how to just grow.
Alex Hermosi.
Hermosi. Yeah, I knew it was Alex.
Hermosi.
Yeah.
yeah.
He's a popular guy. Yeah.
Oh man, dude, he gives so much free game in that book, just on how to brand yourself, brand your ideas, kind of just scaling, like how to
Mm,
scale, right, and get leads. And I mean,
yeah.
that's he breaks it down so like a seventh grader can like understand it. Like, and I love that. I'm a picture guy, and he like does these
Oh,
crazy drawings on
love
there.
picture books. Yeah.
Yeah. I
um,
love how connected that whole culture is too, right? If you find a certain niche and it sounds like you're, maybe more in like the fitness model or bettering yourself and perspective model, like people are so well connected. And from a real estate perspective, like I listen to the FI couple a lot, read a lot of their stuff. Weekly Juice, we listen to them a lot. Bigger
mm,
Pockets is somebody else we listen to. Coach Chad Carson. And so recently I was talking to the FI couple, and then was looking to learn and join something that they offer, and then they're telling me that they're going to have Chad Carson on, and it's just crazy how like connected a lot of these platforms are, and a lot of these influences really are, and a lot of them have a main goal of just trying to help people and share knowledge that wasn't necessarily easily accessible to them.
and
Yeah, no, I mean that's huge, and you can tell too who are the ones who kind of are the real deal, or
Mm-hmm.
not.
yeah.
It's the motto that's you give until you can't give anymore, and then
Yeah.
by giving, the success will come, right? Instead of living in that scarcity mindset. So there's one guy who
Mm,
I never got into Airbnb, but man, there's a guy out there, uh, Airbnb automated, I think. This guy was from Houston, I think. He had went broke, he was homeless, and he kind of discovered Airbnb arbitrage and YouTube. Like all his stuff is free on YouTube, hundreds and hundreds of videos.
yeah.
And you go to some of these influencers, and they'll charge you like $10,000 for like their package, and he calls it out. And he just gives, like give,
Mm,
and
Yeah.
every comment on his stuff is always positive. So I mean, it's
yeah.
real estate wise, like the people who get like the Bigger Pockets podcast, man. I mean, those guys have given so much
So
game.
much, dude.
I mean,
Like they
that's
have.
literally Bigger Pockets attributes to everything I've ever done. I've listened to
Yeah.
Bigger Pockets, I read their books, and I went and bought 9 properties. So
Dude,
Yeah.
it's,
that's I mean, see, that's what yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what I need to be
And
doing.
that's and one thing that you said, Adrian, about like Bigger Pockets giving so much game, and to Tom's point, they have over, I think, 800 episodes of different podcasts of different topics, bringing different guests on, and it's
That is
like,
crazy.
and like, for example, one thing that I was doing was door dashing at night, since I lost my job, and I'd pick a podcast and just listen to it for an hour and, learn about how a barber went from like, cutting heads, like, or, cutting hair for 14, 15-hour days. Now he's making 8 or 9 grand in passive income.
Yep.
Like, that's one that just pops to mind.
It's
you
there,
talk
man.
about
It's there for taking.
Yeah.
Talk about the stress in your day job, and one easy way to eliminate, day job stress is knowing that you got some sort of side business, whether it's Turo or it's owning real estate and having people pay. Because at the end of the day, rentals are great. I love and recommend real estate to everybody. It's an asset, but real estate's also a business, right? You're in it to make additional money, and so it's really just a form of a side hustle where your money's making additional money. And
Right.
I think that's the only real way. Between that, saving your money, investing your money, you have to do things with the money you get from your W-2 job to empower you to not care as much about your W-2 job. Because if you're not doing that, you're going to be stressed up with that job because you need that money and you got nothing else to rely on.
Yeah, kind of like a spin on that too. Like I'm almost want to say too that like branding is such a big thing right now. Like social capital, right? Social capital and branding is even outside our corporate world. Like putting yourself out there of who you are as a person, what your skill set is, giving it out for free. That way, if something were to ever happen where you lose your corporate job or whatnot, like you have people who believe in you and who will lean on you or buy from you kind of whatever, product that you're selling. Like even, my cousin's a real estate agent, and he posts consistently on real estate. Consistently. He gets deals through his Instagram now from people he's never met before.
What's his Instagram? Drop his Instagram. We'll follow him on our page.
I think it's just Michael Gonzales. I don't think he has like a crazy cool name, but yeah, I think it's just Michael Gonzales.
But shout out Michael Gonzales.
Shout out Mike.
Going back to the social capital and branding, because that's one thing that I've noticed, whether it's especially the start of this year with you on LinkedIn, you've been posting quite a bit with HR stuff because that's your industry, and then you posted about working out and different things like that. So talk about, because I think social media is like the next way people are going to be doing business, and the sooner businesses can get into that social media realm, I think the better off they'll be. So talk about posting, being consistent with your posts, and talk about how you come up with certain content. Like, is your mindset like it doesn't have to be perfect content, I just need to get it out there? Or is it more so like, let me figure out the messaging, let me figure this out and make sure it's perfect so you get all the views and likes?
I think it's getting it out there consistently, right? I think it's Gary Vee, who's I feel for me at least is the one who put social capital and branding kind of on the map, right? Like we're in such an age where we're looking at our phones all the time. We're looking at social media and we're following people who provide value to us, right? In whatever facet that is. And I think the big keyword is being omnipresent, right? Like we advertise, but advertising today is being omnipresent across as many platforms as you can, and not just from like a business standpoint, because like people see through that. You go on 100%. LinkedIn right now, I love Paylocity. It's a great organization to work for, but me and Paylocity and other competitors all do the same thing. They share their articles of their products. Like, hey, we can solve this payroll problem. Contact us, right? Instead of like, hey, this is who I am as a person. This is what I like doing outside of work. Hey, I took this L 2 months ago in this area, and this is what happened, but this is how I picked myself up. Like, people, the motto's been always the same. People do business with who they like, but they're finding out who they like in a different way than how it used to be. It's no longer like doing business of who they like in person. It's doing business of who they like they see online.
Yeah, I think it's also when it comes to posting like HR articles or what's going on in the HR world is great, but like posting something genuine and real that's happening in your life, that helps, or that attracts people to like really get to know Adrian instead of like, oh, this is just another payroll guy.
You guys are big football fans, right?
Go Birds.
Go Birds.
Hold on.
Would you? Oh, here it all comes. Swag's
there you go.
Would you guys say that you guys root for underdogs? Like
Yeah,
when there's
I
a
mean,
game
not
and
from a
it's
Philly perspective per se, but
it's
like
Philly
I
versus
feel like
everybody.
no, but I usually like if I'm watching a game randomly, like I'll usually root for the team that's the lower team to win because
Yeah,
I enjoy rooting for the underdog.
people all on social media, it's all one big underdog story, right? We're
Yeah,
all starting from the ground up, clawing up, trying to make it and be successful in the skills we're trying to attain. And we're documenting the process of the wins and the losses, including the
hmm
losses, because everyday people can resonate with that. And when they
yeah,
see that, they know you're not a perfect person. And then you naturally gravitate towards them and start to root for them versus somebody that's only posting all the good things that are happening, in their
right.
life. So
It's
I think, Dan, your point, like, I sometimes think too much into my posts, but like you really shouldn't. You should just be posting anything and everything. Not everything that you're doing, but like
right.
just everyday stuff, right?
Yeah,
Everyday stuff, and like whether it's good or not so good, like people resonate with that. You become more likable.
a lot of it has to do like with the social media posting. Consistency's one,
Hmm.
and not being like don't be afraid to put yourself out there because everything is a lot of it's trial and error where you think this video is going to be great and it's going to do crazy amount of numbers or impressions and then it's like cool I had 2 likes. No
Yeah,
big deal. Then you got to go back and figure out what go back to the drawing board and post something else, post something again tomorrow. Maybe it's something different where you're like no one's going to like this and then boom it does crazy numbers, right?
yeah.
So
It's always the ones that you don't think are gonna do anything that just resonates with people for some reason.
yeah,
yeah. I think it's
100%.
important to be interactive as well. I mean, when you're posting stuff on social media in that sense, you want like, and somebody's commenting with you. You want to engage with them and let them know their thoughts and let them know that they're welcome because then you're kind of building like a smaller community. And I think that's what
Right.
helps human in general, whether it's family communities and then like the communities you can build slightly outside of your family. But building communities and being around more like-minded people, like Adrian, you mentioned that earlier, the 5 people you're around the most, you want to go hang out with the guy that's got, you know, 15 houses and, has this many businesses. And because the more you're around that guy, you're going to end up having at least half of what he's got because he's going to teach you one way or another. And so, building these communities and surrounding yourself in communities that are better than you is what's going to help you be more successful.
Absolutely, man. I mean, you said it. That and giving back to people who are kind of on their come up as well too. Like you yourself, Tom, are one of the people that somebody else sees in their average of 5 that's way ahead of them, right? And trying to get up to you
One
too,
thousand
Dan.
percent.
Like
One thousand percent.
there's all levels.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you. No, I appreciate that. And that, my wife she was joking with me because I wouldn't stop talking on the plane ride. I just went to Sedona, Arizona, which
Oh
you were
yeah.
talking about beautiful places to go. I'm telling you, that place was amazing. I didn't know what to expect when I went. We got there and they have these places. What the heck are they called? Certain like it gives you a certain vibe. I'm not doing it any justice to what it is, but when we left there, I almost felt like a brand new person. It was crazy, like the amount of energy that you can feel in some of the places there. But my point of the story is on the plane ride there, it was 3 hour. We had to stop in Houston, and then we picked back up from Houston. The whole 3 hour flight from Houston to Arizona, I start talking real estate with like the guy behind me, and I'm trying to encourage him, like, "Yo, just got to buy a fourplex, and live in one side, rent out the other three
It makes it
units,
sound
and."
so easy.
Oh man.
So I'm talking to him the whole time, and then another girl on the plane, she chimes in, and she's like a financial advisor. She actually lives in Houston. I got her card here. I gotta reach out to her. I told her I'll hook you up with Dan so she can talk to you too. And now
Yeah.
Adrian, 'cause he's in Houston as well, and
Love
she's a
that.
like-minded individual, and she was working with the guy that just bought a rental property and he's going to rent out a couple rooms in there. So maybe we'll get him on the podcast. But
Yeah.
again, just being positive. If I didn't, I was reading my book, Pillars of Wealth, which is I'm not
Mm.
finished yet, but David Green, he's a bigger pockets guy. I love him. And guy behind me starts asking me questions about it, and so I started talking to him about real estate and what I would recommend the best way for him to get started. And if you can't buy
Just
a
give me your money.
complex, no, I don't want anybody's money. I want more people to buy real estate.
Yeah.
So I told him to buy a duplex, and then it turned into a joke. Once we landed in Arizona, my brother-in-law was like, every time we saw somebody that looked semi-wealthy, like, "Yo, think he bought a quadplex, lived in one side, rented out the other 3 units. Like that's how he was able to afford that
man.
BMW or whatever he's driving.
You
Dude,
know, it's
that's
crazy.
crazy, man. I mean, like when you talk about like just your passion, what you're passionate about, like people sense that and they sense
Mhm.
the authenticity and they're drawn to that, and
For sure.
they want to be a part of that circle, and then and then who knows what the value they provide, that exchange of energy and value, like it's continuous, right? So that's what we talk about. Important to kind of surround yourself of the right people and the right books, the right resources, right? So you're
Right.
giving, the law of attraction, right? You're giving out that attraction and receiving it back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy though. So Tom had a layover in Houston, and he didn't even come say hi. It's crazy.
Oh,
Bro,
wait, how long
what?
was the
I had like
layover though?
it was like
It
two
was
and
like
a
2
half
hours. It was
hours.
2
Like
hours.
Oh,
what?
buddy.
The mess up is Dan didn't come see me. If we're being
Hey,
honest, like
I'm
let's
not
be
driving
real
to.
here.
if it
I'm
was
not
at
driving to.
IAH, it would have just taken an hour to sit in like the traffic getting into the
Thank
one of
you.
those terminals.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
Dan didn't have a job interview, he better have been there at the airport to see me.
Listen,
So
I got a
he's
job,
lucky
so
that
Hey,
we're good.
he would have
We're
been
good.
your lift. He would have been your Lyft driver, possibly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. But Adrian, last thing, any like one piece of advice to our listeners that you would give, whether it's hopping into real estate or starting a side hustle or talking about posting on Instagram or Facebook, if they have some concerns or reservations about that, what's one piece of advice that you would give them?
Yeah. Don't be afraid to fail, trip and fall. Just fail fast and learn.
Right?
Fail,
Yeah.
if you fall, get up fast. I mean, I've taken, we'll have to chat more in the future, but like I've had good wins, but I've had losses as well. And there's been times when I've been down on myself because of those losses, but not realizing that there were invaluable lessons learned from that.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes I think we all get caught up in our losses and you get so negative and you just spiral out of control. And it's like, you got to realize those losses make you who you are. You use them as energy to fuel you to move forward and to become better. And the more you can use that, energy to become better, that's really what life's about, is just trying to get better and better each and every day.
I
Yeah.
had a buddy who that I went to lunch with that was kind of down last year over an investment and whatnot, and I told him like the amount I lost. Like, I guess I was expecting a pity party from him, and he was just like, "That's it." I was like, "Yes." He's like, "Well, did you learn some things from it?" I was like, "Yeah," and he was like, "Well, dude, you're so lucky, and be grateful that like you learned those lessons at only that cost."
Mm,
Versus
Yeah.
others that have lost double or triple that amount.
yeah. Yeah.
So, put things in perspective.
And
Yeah, but hey, all that matters is you made that lesson, you learned that lesson, and sometimes it costs more people, more.
Yeah.
But hey, if you can learn that lesson with less, credit to you, and just don't forget that dang lesson, so it's not more.
exactly. And I think the last thing, just to that point, like I feel like we all get caught up on our losses, and it's so easy to fall into that negative mindset because negativity spreads like a wildfire. That's the saying.
Mhm.
But I also like to say, so does positivity. Like you have that choice of, yeah, I could have a pity party and be negative about it, or reflect, learn those lessons that will stick with you, and then don't do it again. Right. So and just continue to have that positive mindset. And I mean, I tell people go work out if you need to. So anyway, but
I mean, it's all like what
Adrian's
Adrian
changing
was
his
saying
camera
too.
on us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but you get up early, you do that morning routine, you get a workout in, and you visualize, a little bit of what you want your life to be like, and just that little moment of not thinking about the past, not necessarily thinking about what happened yesterday or what's going to happen, like just visualizing the good things that you want to have happen. You're going to kind of create that in your own life.
Yeah.
I agree.
So the last thing, Adrian, where can people find you? Because we are over an hour, and it's great conversation. So let's wrap this up and see where people can find you.
Yeah, on LinkedIn, Adrian Gonzales. On Instagram, have an interesting name. It's FICA Savings _ with aid.
Okay. You want to talk about FICA savings real quick?
I'll plug it in, but essentially it's a government program that allows businesses to take advantage of a tax code that reduces their exposure to FICA taxes, so they can save a lot of money while also their employees getting additional benefits than what they already have for kind of like zero cost. So it's a very unique program that is starting to blow up and kind of will be a big topic into 2024.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, that's really cool. I wish I understood a little bit more about that. But hey, if you need to learn more about it, go check out Adrian's Instagram, which I just did. And got a ton of followers and a ton of great content. So really cool.
Awesome.
Well, I appreciate Adrian, you guys having me, man.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to have you back on at a later point in time. Great conversation, and we really appreciate your time, man.
Awesome, man. Appreciate it, guys.
So that wraps up another episode of the Real Estate Special. Tom, biggest takeaway from our conversation with Adrian?
I'd say my biggest takeaway from the conversation with Adrian is he bought a house with roughly under $10,000 saved up. You know, he went from $80 at 2017 to by the end of 2019 purchasing a house with roughly $10,000 down. I think that's a beautiful story and really shows people that you can get into a home for a lot less money than you anticipate. So that's my special tip.
Love that. For me, I think there was really two. I really like the aspect of his family buying 53 acres of land in Columbus, Texas, which is west of Houston. Found that out. And really just building that legacy for future generations. I think that's a really cool thing to have within the family. And then from a online presence and content perspective, I also hear your dog.
Hippo, what are we doing, buddy?
The other thing is when it comes to putting out content, don't be afraid don't try to make your content perfect. Just get it out there and posting consistently. I think that's something that a lot of people could take away from. So besides that, we'll wrap up here. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you thought of this episode. Follow us on all social media. That'll be in the description below. And until next time, that's Tom Stelzer. I'm Dan Kiley signing off of the Real Estate Special. Go Birds.
Go Birds, baby.